This is Gay News Radio with Brandon Carmody, featuring Roddy Biggs, Samuel, Laura, and Special Agent Jay.
You're listening to Gay News Radio. Today we have a special mini panel with guest Ron Holt. Ron, welcome back to Gay News Radio.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
And, of course, we have Gay News Radio contributor Roddy Biggs. Of course, as always, welcome back, Roddy.
Thank you, Brandon. It's always great.
Okay, so Ron Holt, we're going to start with you. First question, at what age would you say that you started questioning your sexuality, or did you notice same-sex attraction?
I would say that I started questioning my sexuality around 5th or 6th grade. I remember going outside during recess and all the other boys talking about how they wanted to date the other girls that were in the class or wanted to marry them when they got older. And I just didn't have those feelings. My feelings weren't necessarily attracted, towards opposite sex people. And I had these same-sex attractions, but I didn't know how to really give verbiage to that because I was at such a young age. But I would say 5th or 6th grade is when I really started to question about who I was relative to my other straight classmates.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you, Ron. Roddy Biggs, what age did you start to notice that you were different, or did you start to feel some same-sex attraction?
Well, about the same time, around 5th grade, I started to realize going out, like you said, on the playground and looking around, and friends are saying, "Oh, she's so pretty. I want to marry her. I want to date her." And I was like, "Okay, I can see that." But then at the same time, I was like, "Well, so is he. I want to marry him too, or date him and stuff." So I came out, so then in 6th grade, I came out as being gay. But then still thought girls were attractive and got confused. So I was like, okay. So then I said, maybe I'm bisexual. But then it's like, no, because there's more than one gender, there's more than two genders. So it's like, okay, so I'm pansexual. But then later on in 8th grade, I was like, yeah, but I don't want to necessarily have sex with a girl. So I'm like, okay. So I'm panromantic and gay. So that took... I figured all that out in 10th grade. So, yeah, it took a while. So that's what I am now, panromantic. So I'll date anyone, any gender, but only really have sex with guys. So that's who I am.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Roddy Biggs, I'm going to stay with you on the next question. Do you remember anything that may have been a trigger or may have helped you realize your orientation, like, hot celebrities, maybe a film that you saw, songs, or friends or classmates that you saw every day? Was there anything that was a, trigger for you that might have helped you realize you had same-sex attraction?
Definitely. My two best friends, one being a girl and the other being a guy, and the fact that I wanted to date them both, but again, only found the guy sexually interested in as I got older. So that's when it started to click that you could be sexually interested in one gender and not in the other, but be romantically involved with both. So both of them are still my good friends, and yeah.
Okay. Same question for you, Dr. Holt. Was there anything that may have helped you realize your orientation, such as a song, movie, celebrity, or people that you saw and interacted with in your life?
Well, I do know that as I went through junior high and early high school that I definitely was having attractions and feelings towards people of the same sex, especially my classmates. And so I started to realize that this is not just a phase, that this is really something that was very real to me and different than my straight counterparts. There were also some shows or movies that were on TV where I found, the guys to be attractive. And then I really started to realize, okay, this is not what most boys think about. And so I really started having an ideal about, this is not just a phase, probably, junior high, early high school. And it was through, my friends and also through things that I would see on TV.
Okay, totally understood. Staying with you for a moment, Dr. Holt. did you act on it at the time, or experiment, or try any dating with same sex, or did you sort of have to stuff your feelings and keep it inside or a secret?
Well, I have to say that I had to kind of stuff my feelings inside and keep it a secret. As I kind of progressed through high school, I knew very much that I was of the gay orientation, but I certainly didn't act on it because I was very fearful of being rejected by my family and or friends. And so I actually wasn't able to, come out until much later, probably in my early 20s, after I graduated from college and started my first year of medical school. That's when it felt most safe for me to come out because I was finally out of my parents' home. So in the event if they did act in a negative way, I was safe in the sense that I had my own place to live.
Okay, totally understood. Roddy, I know you had a few friends, like you said, that you were attracted to. Did you act on it at the time, or did you experiment, or were these feelings secret?
With the guy, yeah, we experimented some. We actually later ended up dating for 2.5 years. The girl we ended up dating for about a year and never really did anything because I just wasn't interested in it. And turns out she wasn't interested in me either because she's the same way. So, yeah, I experimented some with him.
Okay, understood. Thank you for sharing. Roddy, staying with you for a second here. At what age did you officially come out?
I came out as gay at 12, so very young age. Parents freaked out. They still freak out because I changed it on them, and they don't understand. So, whatever. But, yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Dr. Holt, I believe we've heard in your story before, it was later in life. When did you come out?
So I kind of came out in kind of a lifelong coming out. I initially, like in my college years, I found other friends who happened to be gay, and I kind of collaborated with them as far as my coming out process. And it really wasn't until later, like in my early 20s, like 23, when I felt comfortable enough then to come out to my family. And it wasn't a very good experience. I think we'll actually talk about that later. But, I would say college years with my friends and then to my family, it was like maybe my mid-20s.
We can come to it now. I think that our listeners would definitely want to know. Let's talk about your family. How did they react, and who was around at the time?
Well, so I actually didn't come out to my family until after my first semester of medical school, and it was actually just kind of wasn't really thought about or planned in advance. I was talking to my father after I finished my finals, my first semester, and he started gay bashing on the phone, and I said, I don't believe the things that you're saying, and I have a little bit more education now and realize that being gay is not a choice and that it's a natural variant of human sexuality. And he said, what are you trying to say to me? Are you trying to say that you're gay? And I just impulsively said, yes, I am. And I was just so relieved in that moment to be able to be honest about who I was with my family. And then he just said, well, then you chose this life. I don't ever want to talk to you again. You're not welcome to come home for Christmas. And that was about 10 days before Christmas. And so I stayed in my apartment in Kansas City alone, during the holidays. If I thought, if that's all that I have to go through in order to be true about who I am, then this is fine with me. But it was like a day or two later when he started giving me harassing phone calls and calling me names and really being homophobic in his behavior and threatening me and then threatening my partner at the time for our physical safety. And, we really got very concerned. And over a couple of days, we went into hiding because we were very afraid that he was going to come up and physically harm us. It wasn't until we threatened to get a restraining order against him that he actually left us alone. And, needless to say that the relationship after that was not very good. And unfortunately, my father passed away in 2007. So I wasn't able to really fully reconcile with him. So I really feel bad for him that he missed out on my life. But unfortunately, that's how it kind of came down. Since then, my relationship with my mom has greatly improved since my father's passed away, and now I have a very good and supportive relationship with her.
I'm glad to hear that, and my condolences, and I'm sorry to hear that you never fully came to terms. I, like many of us, have had issues with my father. He did attend my wedding. He was flipping through a Bible through the entire ceremony. However, we later learned that he was only in attendance at my wedding because my mother threatened to divorce him if he didn't show. So he went as an unwilling participant on my wedding day. And he continuously encouraged me to pick up and start dating girls that I haven't seen in 20 years again, which is not going to happen.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Roddy? No, thank you, Ron. And thank you so much for sharing about your family. Roddy, tell us about your family, please. You came out very early at 12. I'd like to know exactly how they reacted, and did they try to put you in programs, or how did this go down?
They freaked out. They didn't really try to send me any programs or anything, but said, look, we're not supporting you. We're not going to do this. We're not going to tell you that you can't live here, but we're also not going to really show you support. Later, they opened up a little, so still confused. I still don't think they quite know what's going on. So it's confusing to them, I guess. And I can see how, but at the same time, I really don't know what they're struggling with because we don't really talk about it that much. So it's like I do my thing, they do their thing, and we don't really interact about it.
How about your present day relationship? I mean, how do you sit with your family right now?
Good, because like I said, we've kind of come to understanding that we don't understand. So we just move on and don't really deal with that because we finally just realized we're not going to agree on it.
Okay, understand. Follow-up question for you, Ron Holt, because I know that you speak with a lot of LGBT youth, and this is possibly something you've come across before. Is this story common for families to have these types of adverse reactions when LGBT youth come out? Is it something that you hear?
Unfortunately, it is still a pretty common event to occur, even with all the new information that we have and all the new media that's out there that's available to educate others on the biology of sexuality. There are still a lot of people, especially older folks, who still hold on to the old beliefs that it's somehow a choice and it's something that we should keep in the closet and not express. And so unfortunately, it is something that is very detrimental and still occurs. However, I think with time, things are getting better and parents are responding to it better than what they used to. The important thing is that the person should come out only when they feel ready to come out, and should only come out when they feel like it's a safe time to come out. Never should we force someone to come out. We should only have someone come out when they feel ready and they feel like they're in a safe environment in which to do it.
Sure, of course. Now, skipping ahead a little bit here, did religion or the upbringing play a role in your coming out? And when you came out, was that a factor in your household?
I would say that it was. I mean, we would hear a lot at church or through friends that homosexuality was a sin or homosexuality was an abomination. And so I would often take those comments that were made and I would internalize them and feel bad about my sexuality based on how people interpreted the Bible. So I would say that it really did cause me a lot of internalized homophobia and really prevented me from coming out until my early 20s.
Okay. Roddy Biggs, was religion a factor in your household?
Definitely. And as much as I hate to say it, I do live in the South, so it's close in the South, and we all know that. So my church the church I attended at the time, really didn't mention homosexuality or gays or anything on a daily basis, but it was known that it was not right, that it was wrong. So just like knowing that and knowing your family stance on it, but at the same time, I was feeling like I was lying to myself and everyone else around me. I couldn't do it because I knew I was gay very young. I mean, I just couldn't tell people, couldn't live a lie anymore. So I took the risk of being kicked out of the house, telling them at such a young age. But if I hadn't, I probably wouldn't be here today because it was getting too hard for me to do on my own. So I did it hoping to get some support and have someone to talk to, and it worked. So I'm glad I did.
Sure. Now, Roddy, I did want to come back to that prior question I didn't ask yet. Did coming out for you or being gay in general make changes in your life that changed the series of events, or did it take you on a different path after you came out?
It definitely took me on a different path because, like I said, I came out as gay. And clearly I wasn't gay because I still could have a relationship with the girl. But I'm not going to have sex with them. So that totally confused me to begin with because it was like, if I'm gay, why am I still finding her attractive but not wanting to do anything? But why am I finding him attractive and wanting to do things? So I had to figure all of that out. So, like, then I learned about bisexuality, and it was like, okay, I'm bi. No, I'm not bi because I don't want to have sex with both of them. Okay, so what's going on? So, kept going. So, 10th grade's when I learned about pansexuality and panromantic and all the other sexualities. So that's when everything started to come back together for me. And when I was finally able to realize
Oh, can you gentlemen still hear me?
Yes, hello?
Hello? Hello?
Oh, hi, it's Ron.
Where did Brendan go?
I don't know.
Interesting.
Sorry, I think my phone dropped the call. I'm back, gentlemen.
Okay, great.
All right.
I'm sorry. I don't know if we got the end of your story there, Roddy. Do you want to share that again, please?
Yeah. So it was very complicated, and it definitely did change things because, like I said, came out as gay at 12, and it wasn't really until 10th grade that I was able to connect everything by knowledge I learned. So finding both guys and girls attractive, but only wanting to have sex with guys, the longer I got, okay, so I can't be gay if I'm finding her attractive. But so then I was like, bisexual? And I'm like, no, because that would mean I want to have sex with both of them, and I don't. So as I learned more, I learned the terminology and was able to connect the pieces and actually be able to identify myself. So it was definitely a process, and things definitely changed around me.
Sure. Now, of course, we're going to wade into the difficult topic of the day with all of the statistics and everything that we have all seen right now with the LGBT youth suicides, starting with you, Roddy, and feel free to decline if you're not comfortable. But was suicide something that you have ever contemplated in your life? And what advice would you give to LGBTQIA youth today who may be contemplating?
It absolutely was, and I have attempted it. I have the scars in my arms and legs to prove it. I was almost successful once, and I've said this many times in other interviews, and I'll probably keep saying it. I post on Facebook all the time. I honestly think the only reason I'm still here today is because of Ellen DeGeneres. every time that I thought about something, and every time that I had a knife in my hand and would put it to my skin and think of her, I could never do anything. It was the times that I wasn't thinking of her that I would cut. But then I'd always start thinking about her again. It's like, I can't do this. So I would always stop, put it down, and start crying in the corner. And then end up going watching it and laughing and everything would be all right. But without her, I definitely would have gone through with it. So I owe her a huge thanks. And to anyone contemplating it right now, it's not worth it. It's going to get better. Find something to distract yourself, whether it be someone like Ellen or a song that you like, or call someone, talk to someone. If it gets to it and you need help, get help. There's great organizations out there, and you can get over it. It will get better, but it won't get better if you end your life. So just take it from someone who knows it's not worth it, and you're going to be fine.
All right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Roddy. And again, I've been giving out this number for the Trevor Project Lifeline in every interview. So listeners, you can reach the Trevor Project Lifeline at 866-488-7386. Once again, that's 866-488-7386. Dr. Ron Holt, if you're comfortable, has suicide been something that's ever crossed your mind, or what advice would you give to the youth that are dealing with this issue?
Sure. And Roddy, thank you again for sharing your story. It means a lot, I think, to me and to the listeners for you to be honest and true about what happened to you. I never had thoughts of I had thoughts of suicide briefly when I first came out to my parents when it was such a traumatic event at age 23. But I never attempted suicide, or did I have any serious suicidal ideations. I was pretty resilient in that way, thinking that life would get better, and definitely it does. And I totally agree with you. If you're ever having any thoughts of suicide, suicide is never an option. It never helps anybody. I definitely agree that if you ever feel that way and you feel comfortable telling your parents, you can reach out to them. If you don't, and you feel if you'd rather contact a hotline, the Trevor Project, as you mentioned, is very, very helpful. There's also the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-TALK, TALK. Both organizations are available 24/7 answering phone calls, and so never feel alone. Never feel like suicide is an option, because you are very worthy of life, and you are very worthy to live the life that you were born as.
Thank you, Doctor. I really appreciate that, especially any resource numbers that we can give to our listeners. Of course, we would love to see a happy ending or resolution for anyone feeling these feelings, and the numbers that we continually see in the news are alarming, and I think a lot more needs to be done there to find some help and support for the community.
This is GNR, Gay News Radio.